Is that dramatic enough? Hi, I'm Telecreations. You can only see part of me right now because that's just how I fucking started this. Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Telecreations. Welcome back to a common... No, actor review. That's what we're doing. Jeez, so many of these shows I can't remember which one's which anymore. In this video, we're going to be talking about Megan Fox. Or Megan Fox. Or Megan Fox. I don't know, I might say it a variation of times throughout this video. In this video, we're going to be reviewing 6 movies. Technically, we're actually reviewing 4 movies, but we have 2 as well as extra little thingies to discuss. So, yeah. In line of films that we have today's discussion, we have, of course, the masterpiece that is Transformers, directed by Michael Bay, and its sequel, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. We also have the lusciousness that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 2014. Beautiful. And, of course, that hidden gem that you probably don't remember, but it's a cult classic, Jonah Hex, based on the famous DC comic book line. And then we have this kind of out of the blue, kind of just nice little British-American comedy, rom-com, if you will, that we call How to Lose Friends and Alienate People. And last but not least, and this is, by the way, the probably the way in which I'll be actually doing my review, we have Jennifer's Body. So this is probably what I would call a from worst to best list. So if you're eager to see a particular review, I'll try to do codes like timestamps in the description section, because people do that now, which is really cool, and I just haven't been doing it because I'm lazy. But my Jennifer's Body one will be at the very end. I note that because I have the Blu-ray here in my lap, and this is quite the film, especially in the repertoire of Megan Fox's body of work. Now, we're going to be talking about her body quite a bit, not just because of Jennifer's body, not just because of Megan Fox's body, but because of what her body has done for her career, and how it has ultimately ruined it. So, whilst this is a hopefully shorter video than the rest of them, probably not as short as the Taylor Swift video, but whilst this is a video that still is focusing on the films and reviewing them, I also want to be talking about Megan Fox as a persona in the film industry. Unfortunately, of course, I'm not able to talk about her post-2019 films, which she's getting back in the habit, you know. I'll give her that. She's coming back, which is nice. She's doing a range of films. I can't exactly say how is she getting these films, because she's an actress. That's just how things go. And I haven't seen her earliest body of work, like the Mary-Kate and Ashley films and some other Disney films that she was in, unless they were all Disney films, I don't know. But I did not express my interest in delving that deep. As it is, I already had to buy one of these films on YouTube and rent the other one. Well, I bought the other one, whereas the other films, they were on Netflix. So, yeah. So let's get in it with our opening statement on Transformers 1 and 2. Where the fuck am I going to film next? Shit. Alright, we're talking about movies. Fuck, sorry. I get distracted sometimes. Am I going to hit that? Yes, I am. What have I written down on my lovely little paid-for device? Boop. Scroll up to the very top. Transformers. I will read as follows. I will not watch these two films for her performance because they do not even attempt to allow her to act. They focus on sexualizing her, and that hence ruined her career, as she was always seen as a sex symbol that gets teenage boys into cinema seats, over a woman who has an actual acting talent outside of her physical appearance. Cool. And that's my discussion of the Transformers films. Look, I watched them when I was a kid, because that's when you're meant to watch them. They are movies for children or teenagers. Teenagers below the age of 15 at least. They are arguably art. Honestly, if you want to debate the whole Michael Bay artistic side to it, I'd go with Lindsay Ellis's essays on the Whole Plate series. Definitely worth watching. There isn't much to note on Megan Fox's performance. To be fair, I was going to actually rewatch these films. Turns out I didn't have the DVDs anymore because I obviously threw them out when I decided to move houses. Good idea on my part. But of course, there is the obvious aspect of they are fucking long, mind-numbingly dull, and, well, just not that great. They have their perks. Again, Michael Bay is kind of an auteur director, I guess. You do have your fun explosions and your robot thingies and some interesting visual effects that are pretty effective, to be completely fair. You've got your bare bones human characters, and then you've got Megan Fox, which is just a sex symbol. She's a sexy woman who's been put on a motorbike to look sexy, and that's the whole point of her. She is there to be lusted over by the protagonist, and you, the protagonist, the generic white kid. I'm assuming, at least. That's what they're posing it as in the movie, so that's how I'm going to interpret it. Yeah, I can't say that she acted in these films. She was there. She did things. She ran, she screamed, there was explosions. So you got at least a bare bones performance out of her. Probably nothing to say that she was a terrible actor, but nothing to say she was a great one either. Very much a Kristen Stewart performance in Twilight kind of deal. Where you have a lot of shitty, specific audience type movies where you're not going to get much of a good performance out of anyone, no matter how much they try. So, yeah, let's move on to our next subject matter, which is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I guess given it's produced by Michael Bay, I might as well stay here and just kind of roll with it. But yes, overall, my Transformers review, not worth watching for her, not worth watching at all unless you just kind of like that kind of crappy movie. Yeah, Ripperino. And that's kind of why I'm putting Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles into this mix. I hadn't seen them by the time of doing this review, so I figured I'd at least give it a chance. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch the sequel. I'd say that just because I heard better things about the sequel than I did about the original. I was able to watch this one on Netflix, which was great, but it was a slog of a film. And, I mean, even my mum came in 20 minutes into the film, and I explained what had happened. And by the end of it, she still didn't know or understand what the fuck was going on, and neither did I. So, yeah. So, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a 2014 film directed by Jonathan Liebesman, or Liebesman. My quote, so, you're Ninja Mutant Turtle teenagers. Because, of course, I can't just say, so you're Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Because, of course, you gotta have that response of, well, when you put it that way, it sounds dumb. Because it isn't already. Because we're gonna do comedy in this one. That's why Will Arnett's here, for comedy. My initial review, of course, is the horseshit I watch sometimes. With multiple ellipses. Just for a dramatic effect, you only need 3 dots for an ellipses. I know my grammar. So my review. I did not care for this film. It was a waste of time from the get-go, and with its rapid-fire origin story of the Turtles, a 20-minute origin for April O'Neil, then the Turtles show up 20 minutes in when everyone is either bored or asleep, which, look, for artistic effects, sometimes it's not a bad idea to have your mutant turtles come in after you've established what kind of a world you're living in, but not in this case of this film, given that A, we know who the fuck the Turtles are, B, the fact that they're opening with a cartoon thing narrated by Splinter to explain their kind of origin story, but then it turns into real life and you have to follow the boring-ass character that is April O'Neil, played by our very own Megan Fox, who was, of course, painstakingly joined by Will Arnett as funny man number 752. And that's like ironic funny man because they're not actually funny, they're cringy as fuck. It's pretty much the actor was given the reign to do whatever they wanted in terms of improv, but as long as they followed the story and the character dynamics, it didn't really matter. In this case, it didn't have any fucking character dynamics because of how badly this movie was written. The movie never really gets started also, which is just, it's just constant exposition until the final 30 minutes of action and conflict. And by conflict, it's just, this is what the villain's doing, fight him, turtles. Yeah, it's Splinter, of course, because you've got to, of course, start with Splinter, because he's the most obvious villain. Very underdeveloped villain, which is also another one of those, we have this ancient Japanese dude who is the actual villain, who is Splinter, but then the actual villain that we're going to relate you to, audience, because you're in America, is the American white dude. The businessman. The most generic villain of all time. I hate it. It's cheap, messy, and looks like disoriented turd. It does. The color grading is fucking abysmal. The turtles, I mean, look, they're a decent design. I can't really criticize that because they're at least they're not the rubber costumes. So there's a perk about that. You know, this is very much a Godzilla 54 versus Godzilla 2014 kind of deal. You know, ironically, this movie also came out in 2014. How about that? But yeah, so I don't care much for the turtles' designs, but they are fine. You know, you've got their obvious colours so you can tell which one's who, and of course you know which one's Raphael because he's a fucking asshole. Let's talk about Megan Fox, because who gives a shit about the rest of this movie? So, maybe she can't act. I haven't gotten much proof on this movie. Also, the fact that her character is terrible. So, this film does not help her repertoire. It poses her briefly on the sexualized side for a gag and the love interest of potentially one of the turtles, but that's just more or less a reference to the actual comics, and because it's kind of funny sometimes. Or at least that's what the writers think, because they aren't good writers. But also, it is more amusing in the the TV show that they had during the mid-2000s, the mid-2010s, that they had coming out, because I remember watching that as a teenager. That was pretty good, you know, and the characters were relatable and fun, and it made sense that the teenage version of, was it Donatello? I don't know, it's the orange one, who has a crush on April O'Neil, which makes sense, because she also is a teenager, whereas in this movie she is in her 20s? She's probably not in the 30s, but she would probably have to be, given that she donated 4 years of her life to college. But I guess maybe because she's attractive, she must be only in her 20s. So I don't know. They don't really tell you. But I mean, well, and that's considered the old man, so I guess it doesn't matter. She plays April O'Neil, aka meant to be ginger, but just kind of has like ginger flares added to her hair in post, kind of. It's weird. So she's a terrible reporter who, like, seriously, she gets fired within the first 20 minutes of the movie because that's how fucking terrible of a reporter she is. It's hilarious, you know? You have Whoopi Goldberg come up to her and say, to be a good reporter, you need, you need research, you need evidence, you need all this you need a case to actually present to us as something to report on. But instead, it's just a really bad photo but I swear it happened. Anecdotal evidence doesn't always work, my dude. There are no... so I really have to emphasize this. She has no character arc. And doesn't really do much except for almost start a pandemic because she is chasing a story. Yeah, she's kind of the villain in this movie. The inciting incident is her being a reporter. She's the reason why everything bad happens in this movie, and that the turtles have to come out of hiding to stop Splinter because it now allows Splinter to have a fucking plan in the first place. Yikes. There are no redeeming aspects to her character nor her performance, except that she isn't flat in her delivery. She's at least not a bad actor to the point of you can, this isn't a Troll 2 situation. She's an actor who's probably pretty good, but is given a terrible role and terrible dialogue and a terrible director, so you can tell that she's just kind of there. She doesn't really care, and I don't either. But at least she's doing something in terms of being a human being. So she's not bad, she's just not great. She's on the meh line, a not very notable performance from the protagonist of the movie. At least I'm assuming she's a protagonist. She's the one that we followed the whole time, but of course I think that's just meant to be so the audience can relate to the Turtles, because we now have a real-world perspective and an understanding of who they are because they're talking to April O'Neil, which is, of course, the point of April O'Neil. That's the whole fucking point of a character. I don't think she actually does anything else outside of her family her dad at least is related to Splinter in some way, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, of course you can tell that I definitely know my lore. So does this movie. But she has no passion or emotion in this CGI infected, it's the same fucking word, blockbuster. It's just crap. So overall, skip this piece of shit for her sake and your own. My rating is 1 star. Now let's become a cowboy and go over there. Over there. How goes it, my dudes? We're talking about Jonah Hex. Oh, God. Jonah Hex is a 2010 film directed by Jimmy Hayward. My quote, "I'm all out of wise-ass answers." I had to get that from IMDb because when he said it in the movie, I couldn't understand what he was saying, because Josh Brolin kind of mumbles more than half of his lines in this fucking movie, because he's got a prosthetic makeup on his face, so he's meant to make him seem more cowboyish, more like he's gritty and whatever, but instead of just sounding gritty with his voice, he's sounding gritty with his voice, but also has a prosthetic on his mouth, so he can't actually enunciate his words properly. That was a bad idea. It's a great makeup effect, but it's a bad execution in terms of dialogue. Like, haven't they heard of ADR? Just to note, IMDb trivia states that Megan Fox considers this to be her worst movie. I can take her word for that. I can take her word definitely big time on that. Let's look at my actual review. I didn't even have an initial review. It's just this. This is a film that didn't know what it wanted to be. Starting with a 10-minute opening lot of confused narrative vomit that practically does a short revenge story whilst tracking a little too close to the Lone Ranger, that terrible Disney movie. It then proceeds to be a revenge story, but instead of focusing on Hex's revenge, it focuses itself as a bad guy wants to destroy the world with MacGuffin film. Yeah. It honestly had potential to be something interesting if it had have expanded that opening 10-minute origin story montage into an hour that developed Hex and his revenge story, plus explaining and making his powers believable, if having given him powers at all, because they weren't even in the original comic book. This is the one that's based on a comic book. Fuck, they all are by this stage. Anyway, this movie is based on a comic book where he doesn't even have fucking superpowers, yet in this one he does, and these superpowers is just that he can touch the dead person, and the dead person can tell him stuff. It doesn't matter how long dead they are. The younger dead they are, the quicker they burn, like they can burn to ash, so as if they get disintegrated from existence, I think. It's very obvious in this film that they establish that there is a hell, at least that some of these characters, most of the bad guys obviously, go to. So it's like, if you destroy one of them because, there's an angry fit or whatever, and you let one of them burn, or you particularly make sure that they burn to a crisp, does that mean that they still go back to hell, or does that mean that there is no hell for them? Because wouldn't you want them to go to hell? Damnate their eternal soul, or whatever the fuck those Christians keep saying. I should also mention that opening 10-minute montage thing. After the 3-minute mark, it becomes a cartoon. Like, literally, it becomes a cartoon. It goes from a live-action montage-y thing to now it's a cartoon to show the rest of the events, which is pretty much... How do I even describe it? You see opening footage of Jonah Hex as a person in the army. This is like a North and South versus army in America, whatever. So the non-Confederate army, whatever the good guys were, I don't know, the fucking North, who gives a shit. And then you find out that John Malkovich has tied him up in front of his house, and he's about to burn his wife and child alive, and he's like, because you killed my son, I'm gonna... and you betrayed your army and whatever, I'm gonna, show you what it's like to have lost. And I'm like thinking, what the fuck did I miss? What the hell have they not shown me? Which they do show you in a flashback. and a bit of dialogue later in the film to actually explain it all, and it's just like, why are you telling me this now? I don't care about this shit by this stage. We're an hour into this fucking movie. Why are you only telling me this shit now? I should have known this at the start of the movie. To set up your character. I don't know, to make him more elusive or something. It's fucking dumb. And then it becomes a cartoon where the Indians, the Native Americans, come by and save him and give him life and whatever, but he's still partly undead. That's why he has a superpower. He touches the dead people, and they point the way because their souls roam the world and whatever, and they know what's going on because of convenient narrative exposition and whatever. And again, this is all still shown in cartoon. Then he finds John Malkovich's character he burns himself alive in a house, and you're just like, wow, John Malkovich died really quickly in this movie. I wonder if he'll come back at some stage. Take a fucking guess. And then the movie becomes live action, and suddenly he's a bounty hunter with superpowers. Again, nothing much, but he also has these, like, do you remember that Van Helsing movie that Hugh Jackman was in, where he has all these over-the-top guns that don't make sense for the time period? Yeah, he has those too. There's a part where he lifts up his cloak and he's got these 2 fucking Gatling guns, and he's on a horse, and he shoots everyone. And it doesn't make any fucking sense as to how any of this is happening, except that later in the film they find a weapons expert who is just the guy from John Wick. What else is there to it? Nothing. Also the Native American thing is because his fucking wife is Native American, so obviously he has this history with them, but they never go into it, so they just randomly show a flashback to him and his wife and kid, and you realize, oh, she's Native American, but they don't emphasize it. You can just see it because that's obviously what she is. So obviously, it's probably her family that came by and was like, oh, we haven't heard from our, daughter or whatever in a while. Let's go see oh, fuck, they're all dead. Except for him, who's just dying. Let's go heal him. And then they do it again later in the film when he gets shot a few times. It's very stupid. So where was I? The second half of the film, maybe the next hour, could have been what we saw, but with all the crap cut out. There's a lot of shit that we just don't need. Everything with the president in the film is just useless because it just gets repeated again and again and again. For example, there's a part where the president's talking to Will Arnett, of all people, and John Gallagher Jr., and another dude who I don't know, and they explain to the president and the other guy are talking about how, it must be John Malkovich's character who's alive again, because that only makes sense because he's the only person who would do this kind of thing, even though his henchman didn't die. And so they mention the super weapon thing or whatever, but then our main character, Jonah Hex, finds out about the super weapon about 20 minutes later, and then ends up contacting them about it, saying he's got a super weapon, he's going to destroy whatever. But I'm like thinking, but the president already knows about the super weapon. Did he not tell Jonah Hex about, or get his grunts to tell Jonah Hex about the fucking super weapon? It was more like, no, let's get him to go after it for a revenge thing. That'll be more convenient than, he has a super weapon that'll destroy the whole entire world. It's Wild Wild West all over again. So yeah, even if Malkovich's character fake dies, then surprise twist, maybe he still burns alive or whatever, if in this remake that I've posed, or re-edit, however the fuck you'd put it. And then maybe surprise twist in the last 20 minutes, he shows up to be the mastermind of it all, which is of course going to be expected, but at least it's more realistic, because by this stage you know that he had died off, and then suddenly, he's back because he is that good that he can fake his own death. But in this film, the actual film is just terrible. And of course, he's the mastermind behind the Explode America plot. Maybe, because Michael Fassbender is in it, as his main henchman, maybe he's the replacement villain. In the meantime, after Malkovich dies, the main henchman, being Fassbender, comes in to take over and do all this other stuff. And he's actually really great in the film. He's the only good fucking thing in this whole movie. But yeah, so I'm not saying this would make a good, masterpiece of the film, but probably would have been a much better version than this messy shit show. That was a very hard way for me to explain it, but it's a very small paragraph for me to just elaborate so much. Overall, this film tries but fails to be something fresh or interesting, but I wasn't bored whilst watching it, which was nice. It was just kind of a weird entertainment, just It's just happening, and I just kind of feel numb. So, but I wasn't bored. And that's good, because the TMNT movie, I was bored throughout the whole entire runtime. And I watched it before watching this film. Other notable films. Megan Fox plays a prostitute who is in a kind of relationship with Hex. She basically prostitutes herself whilst Hex does bounty hunting. She's kind of three-dimensional. Her mother calls her Tallulah, but everyone refers to her as Lila. That's a dimension. We've also got she can defend herself in a fight, but only to the point that the script allows, because convenience. So that's another dimension. And her third dimension is that she's attractive. That's a dimension, right? That's all three, right? Yeah? Cool. I obviously know how to write scripts and characters, so obviously these are the three dimensions you need, right? That's what a three-dimensional character has. 3 attributes, including boobs. This film is a fucking mess, and it's really not worth your time. However, another thing about Megan Fox is that she's in, 5 scenes, adds nothing to the plot, even when, she doesn't add anything to the character of Jonah Hex being that she's the romantic interest, because it's like, you get as much out of her as you do the flashback with his wife and child. There's nothing there. There's no chemistry whatsoever. She's not relevant to the romantic subplot because there is none. To the point that she actually gets kidnapped by Michael Fassbender because he's like, I gotta find something that'll really hurt Jonah Hex. And he kidnaps her. Then Jonah Hex finds the bad guys on their boat, the boat that'll go and sail around and destroy the places and whatever the fuck. And he fights Michael Fassbender, and he kills Michael Fassbender, and he's like, this is for my wife, and he kills her. He's like, there's the propeller from the boat, hits him in the head and kills him. And then you cut to his dead body, and then Jonah picks him up, and he comes back to life, but because he's so freshly dead, he starts to burn really quickly, because the only way to cure that is to put earth on you, because of course earth is the one consistency between life and death, which is kind of a clever idea, or at least a less than lazy idea. But of course that's not going to happen, so instead Jonah he's like, this is for my son, and he punches him and he just turns into ash. So that of course makes me question, does he go to hell at all? Or is he just gone forever, even his soul? But you know what, the one thing Michael Fassbender's character doesn't say while he's there? Anything about Megan Fox. He doesn't mention her whatsoever. Hex then goes up onto the boat, sees them, lines up his gun at Malkovich. Malkovich sees Hex, and then just grabs the girl and just shows her, and he's like, do you want to lose another one too? And I'm like, why the fuck did what the fuck? It's not a very clever thing of how they did that. So she becomes a damsel in distress. She kind of has a fight scene with a dude, but then she ends up losing the axe, which falls down and actually helps Hex out, which is kind of convenient, but leaves her in distress, so it means that she has to fight hand-to-hand again, while Hex defeats John Malkovich, goes back up, defeats the guy who she's trying to defeat, and then they both jump off the boat and swim to safety as it explodes. That's the end of the movie. So if you had have noticed, she doesn't do anything in this fucking movie. You wonder why it's her least favourite movie. Let's look at her acting, though. She's fine. She's not as blank-faced as she was in TMNT, which is nice, but she adds nothing to the role. She personally adds nothing to the character, which there is no character, except for those obvious 3 dimensions, so there obviously is a 3-dimensional character there somewhere, but, yeah, no. She's not terrible, but again, she's just blank, she's just there, you know? She kind of has a bit more something, but again, it's nothing to write home about. My rating for this film is 2 stars. And let's jump into our next film, which is How to Lose Friends and Alienate People. This is a 2008 film directed by Robert B. Wide. Apparently it's based on a true story about some arsehole, so there we go. My quote, you thought Brad Pitt was a cave in Yorkshire. My initial review, the real joke is that America forgot what satire was in the 80s. Full review, the real good stuff. This film is a mess. You hate the protagonist for the duration of the film, and even when you start to like him, he continues to do stupid things that are very cliche, so there's not even enough room for, forgiveness for his complete and utter dickheadedness. That actually doesn't even have a red line underneath in the text here, so I guess it must be an actual word. The satirical tropes that they aim for are overshadowed by terrible characters and a world that doesn't allow for its satire to breathe, let alone exist or even show up to the fucking after-party. This film fails at being a decent rom-com, a more than terrible satire, and lacks any redeeming qualities outside of a few good character moments and just a few gags. A few laughable gags. There are a lot of gags in this movie, but they're mostly fucking terrible and cringy. This film is not a film that will be remembered fondly, and for a good number of reasons, not just the transphobia. Oh, fuck. Which they use as multiple gags, and it's terrible. Megan Fox plays Sophie Mays, a actress who is a rising star set to win awards based on her portrayal of Mother Teresa, which is the only real brilliant satire of the film, because they make a fake trailer for the Mother Teresa movie, and it's still meant to be this kind of NC-17 sex comedy. Well, not even a comedy. It's meant to be this kind of really sexual film about, Mother Teresa having an affair with a young, sexy Mother Teresa, finding out who she is as a person, and of course becoming the Mother Teresa we all know and love, but also having an affair with a priest. So it's the only good gag in the whole entire film, and they really play it all out, and then they even replay the trailer in the actual end credits. So that was worth the $5 that I paid to watch this in HD on YouTube. Thank you very much. The director, this is the best part, the director noted that he was excited for this film to come out, given that it was Megan Fox's first feature that showed off her sex appeal. Her sex appeal? Her sex appeal. However, as you may have noted, Transformers came out in 2007. Because, of course, Transformers came out months before this terrible fucking film. And, of course, the director was disappointed that he wasn't the one credited for discovering her and showing her to the rest of the world. Yeah. This is who people compare to a modern-day Marilyn Monroe, by the way. Which was her role model. She even had a quote of her Megan Fox had Marilyn Monroe's face tattooed on, her arm or shoulder, and a quote on her back. I think she still has the quote, but she got rid of the face because she wanted to disassociate herself from the tragedy from Marilyn Monroe's life. Yeah. Anyway, I did an actor review for Marilyn Monroe, so you feel free to check it out. That one I also kind of go less into her personal life, more as how she is actually a really good actor. Unfortunately, not like Megan Fox, to this point, in my review at least. So, yes, the whole magnetism of her sexuality destroyed her career from day one, even though she'd done minor roles before this film and even was in a Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen film. Fox presents nothing interesting to the table, as she's basically a 2D actress whose only scene to develop her character is when she's drunk, and she's a bit scared because everything is happening so fast, and they cut to the next scene because she says, I get really horny if I'm on cocaine, and of course they mentioned cocaine a bit earlier where a guy is going to give it to Simon Pegg's character, but we never see any outcome of that. And then Simon Pegg's like, I know a guy who has cocaine, because he obviously wants to fuck her because she's so attractive. So he gets up and he runs, gets the cocaine, goes back, but instead he ends up helping Kirsten Dunst's character instead because she's drunk and wants to drive home. And he's like, well, I'm sober, I can drive you home. And even though he looks over at the pool and he's like, oh, that's where I want to be, getting this young actress high so I can fuck her. Yeah, this guy's an asshole, by the way. Simon Pegg is the character who plays the asshole. Simon Pegg is great. And he's a good actor even in this film, but his character is terrible. But we'll get there. Instead of developing her further, we just go back to how much of an asshole the protagonist is. Exactly. Also, she is overtly over-sexualized from the first scene to her second last appearance, because the last appearance in this film is her winning the award for Best Actress in a Film, again, the Mother Teresa one. where she has a physical fight, and swears a lot at Simon Pegg, which is kind of fun. But yes, her scene preceding that was in an apartment in a hotel with Simon Pegg and a bunch of other people, and Simon Pegg is in his boxes, and he's meant to be climbing across the balcony between one roof and another, but he's too scared, and so he's like, well, you do it then. So she strips off, and she's in a bra and underwear, which is probably trailer bait. She goes and does it, but you don't even see it, you just see everyone else reacting to it, being like, wow, that was so cool. Anyway, the first scene that she even appears in is they're at a party, there's a pool, and the actors, like, these are all producers and stuff, and journalists and whatever, and they want to do a review of her and talk about her. And, you know, Gillian Anderson's there, and she points out the guy is right next to her, and she's like, oh, but that's turn the girl next to you around. So she turns her around. Megan Fox realizes they're there, and she also wants to go and talk to them, but then she looks around, there's only a pool in front of her, and people surrounding her, and there's nowhere for her to go, so she's just like, well, fuck it. She takes off her shoes and she walks right through the water, and everyone's like, oh my god, look how sexy she is, and taking pictures of her, and she comes out of the water half down, but then maybe they reshot it to some degree because suddenly her nipples are hard and you can obviously see them through her dress because, yeah. And that's the first impression we get of her, which is literally Simon Pegg's character just going, practically drooling the whole time, just in complete awe of her, even before she gets in the water. And then he has this weird, tries to have a conversation with her afterwards, and it's cringy as fuck, and it's terrible. So, yeah, she's there because she can act to a basic level, to a she's there level. Obviously, she's playing an actress who is maybe a good actress. She's not terrible in the trailer for the fucking movie, which is actually kind of fun. But her as an actual character, like this, what's her name again? This Sophie May's character. Nah. She's better than the other few films, that's for sure. She's much better than the previous two films. Actually, she's better than all the other films that she's been in by that stage. But that's probably because she's given some room to breathe, but not really enough. Actually, not enough at all, as I said before. Hardly enough at all. So, yeah, she's mostly here because of her glowing sex appeal, which obviously the director realized, hey, this girl's perfect. She can kind of act, and she's incredibly sexy. I may have discovered the next Marilyn Monroe. Let's do this, So overall, this film has a huge cringe factor, incredibly unfunny jokes, and terrible characters that make this film not a very fun film to watch. It has moments past the halfway mark of actual comedy and character, but unfortunately it's all too late for me to really give half of a shit about. Simon Pegg is at least a good actor, so I don't blame him for this terrible film. I give it 1.5 stars. Yeah. And then we get to our lucky lost Jennifer's Body, so let's get ourselves a new a new angle. I was going to say brand spanking new, but apparently my tongue tie has fucked me tonight. It's only 1:30, that's alright. Let's go. Oh my god. That totally worked. You may have noticed that poster in the very far distance there. That's right. It's Marilyn Monroe, it's not Megan Fox. I just thought that'd be kind of nicely, a nice, good image. Not for the sex appeal, but for the relation between the actresses. Or at least what they're trying to go for in real life. Let's talk about Jennifer's Body! Oh my god, where's that Blu-ray? Fuck, it's over there. I'll be right back. Hold on, let me just grab my fucking Blu-ray. Oh my god. That's how I could have started this off. Let's read what the Blu-ray says. Sexy temptress Megan Fox is hotter than hell as Jennifer, a gorgeous, seductive cheerleader who takes evil to a whole new level after she's possessed by a sinister demon. Steamy action and gore galore ensue as the male student body succumbs to Jennifer's insatiable appetite for human flesh. Now it's up to her best friend, Amanda Seyfried, to stop Jennifer's reign of terror before it's too late! ! Yeah, I wonder how they advertise this movie. Jesus Christ. Jennifer's Body is a 2009 film directed by Karen Kusama. My quote, I need you hopeless. It's a really good line. My initial review, it'd be pretty horrifying to see the murdered victims of your demon-possessed best friend during your first intimate time with your romantic partner. Like, I can't say it wouldn't happen, but, you know, it definitely wouldn't be fun. My full review. Oh, shit, boy, this is a long one. Because this is her actual acting. This is her at her best. And it's fucking amazing. I'm actually going to borrow the review from Ghosts Are Real on Letterboxd. So let's just jump into that, because let's be honest, this is a review of the whole entire film, and then we're going to talk about Megan Fox. This review is very redeeming of the film and of her. There is a video essay that I will suggest at the very end that is a beautiful encapsulation of the terrible marketing behind this film. So, what did I do? Where is my stream? Boom, here we go. So yes, Ghosts Are Real gave this film 5 stars this is 2012. Poor old Jennifer's body. This film gets a lot of hate, and it deserves none of it. Maybe it's because Diablo Cody is a controversial writer. She wrote Juno. Maybe it's because Megan Fox is considered to be a bad actress. Maybe it's because it was marketed as a sexy movie for boys when it's actually a movie about female friendship. Maybe it's all of the above. But while this movie has been written off as a trashy failed experiment in horror comedy, it's actually a thoughtful, perceptive, and scary examination of what it means to be a teenage girl. You could see its two main characters, Jennifer and Needy, as stereotypes. At first glance, they look like the archetypal teen girl characters, the slut and the nerd, but there's so much more than that, and anyone who's ever been a teenager will identify with their intense emotions, their ridiculous jealousy, and their constant, desperate, crushing need for approval. I'm all for making movies shorter in general, but that's not a personal thing for me. I love long movies. But of course, this is this person's review. So again, I'm all for making movies shorter in general, but I actually think the extended cut of Jennifer's body is worthwhile. That is, to note, the version I watched on this Blu-ray. The uncut version, otherwise known as the extended director's cut. Far superior. Many of the scenes that were trimmed from the theatrical cut focus on the grieving parents of Jennifer's victims, which means we can't just write them off as the stupid teenagers who populate every slasher movie since the dawn of time. Their deaths aren't meaningless. They have an effect on their families, and you can feel the mood of the whole town change as the movie progresses. There are also extra scenes spent with the goth clique, which are hilarious, but again, change the dynamic of several relationships and add weight to the characters' deaths. The all-important scene at the bar at the beginning of the film is also longer in this version, and again, it adds emotional weight to the film. You really feel how dangerous things are, and it's actually scary. Which isn't to say the theatrical cut is bad, because I loved it that way first. I love how well written the characters are. Yes, the dialogue is stylized, but have you listened to how people talk? Ever? I love how fantastic the actors are. Amanda Seyfried is great, as always, but she doesn't outshine the rest of the cast, which includes Johnny Simmons as Needy's adorable boyfriend, aka the guy from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. These are the only 2 films I've ever seen him in. Then, of course, you have Kyle Gallner as the believably goth Colin Gray, and Adam Brody as the amazing evil Nikolai. And, of course, Megan Fox, who is perfect in this movie, and no, I do not want to hear a word against her. More than anything, I love how this movie looks. The direction is slick and interesting, and the actual photography is frequently breathtaking. None of that shitty orange and teal washed out crap here. Jennifer's body goes for bright, oversaturated colours instead, and it's beautiful. That shot of Needy in her magenta princess dress running through the dark forest with her blonde hair streaming behind her gives me goosebumps every time. I don't think I could trust the opinion of anyone who doesn't love this movie. It's wonderful. Big props there to Ghosts Are Real. I will hopefully remember to link their account down below in the description, as well as my own Letterboxd. I highly recommend at least looking at their review, giving a like if you like Letterboxd. But I couldn't have worded it any better. Let's be honest, that's the perfect review for this movie. So let's just talk about Megan Fox's actual performance. And this doesn't undermine at all what Ghosts Are Real said. Holy shit, is she amazing in this film. It's disappointing that the only film that she's actually a good actress in and plays a compelling character in also happens to be the film that has garnered such hate. She is perfect as both versions of Jennifer, the popular girl who doesn't care for the good girl lifestyle but still has a, youthful innocence to herself, especially when she's around Amanda Seyfried's Needy. Her name is literally Needy. I feel like that's a joke in and of itself. She's not a perfect person or a role model-like figure, in the perfect Christian world that America claims itself to be. However, she's exactly what she needs to be in contrast with Needy. But they also work so perfectly together, because, you have such opposite ends meeting and working perfectly in tangent. Also, her demon forms, both strong and weak, are very frightful, but can still appeal to this sexy physique. This film is absolute proof that, with the right role, script, and maybe even director, Megan Fox can be something golden on screen. It's disappointing that after the films I've watched for this video, she hasn't shown herself to have such talent as present in this film. Yeah, the whole she's sexy but also possessed by a demon, so she's scary too, is notable, especially for the almost satirical look on herself and her imposed characteristics of sex appeal, much like, again, Marilyn Monroe, but it makes her character work more. There is the obvious unfortunate nature of how the film was advertised, and even I remember watching it in high school with the impression of her and an expectation of a lot of sex appeal despite the horror that came after. I wasn't big on horrors in high school, yet I still watched this film, and I liked it. I didn't obviously get every single aspect to it, but I enjoyed it a lot. I obviously realized that the sex appeal of Megan Fox wasn't the biggest thing in this movie, it was actually the characters, because I'm not a freaking idiot. Also, I'm not a 12-year-old boy. I said freaking, how the fuck did I even, it doesn't matter. But after having seen a video essay discussing the film and even reading the aforementioned review, it all comes together in a nice bow. Overall, if you want to see Megan Fox, the actress, then watch Jennifer's Body. Maybe, arguably, her post-2019 works as well, but I can't be the one to decide that because I haven't watched them, and you can't even rent them, so it doesn't help that there's a pandemic going on, so I can't watch the one where she's in a family with a dog, and it's about a dog, or that, Vietnamese film? I don't know, she's in an Asian war film, and as a reporter, which doesn't inspire me with confidence, given that the last time she was a reporter was fucking TMNT. So, yeah. Anyway, if you want to watch Megan Fox, the sex symbol, then, well, you know what the fuck to look for. My rating for Jennifer's Body is 4.5 stars. Because this film is fucking incredible. I am very happy to have it on Blu-ray. I'm so happy to have the extended edition. And I cannot wait to watch it with my girlfriend, who is very eager to watch it. Also, check out Yahara Zad's video essay on Jennifer's Body and the Horror of Bad Marketing. That's the actual title of it. I'll hopefully link it down below. It's an amazing analysis on, bad marketing. And that's it. Those are all the 6 films that I can review of hers. Transformers 1 and 2, which obviously I didn't rewatch and don't care to, ever. TMNT, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because the animated one is called TMNT, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a fucking mouthful. I don't even care if the second one's better, because I'm not going to watch it. Jonah Hex is just on Netflix, so it's just easy to watch. It's a very quick movie, too. It's like 85 minutes. How to Make Friends and Alienate People. Oh, fuck, how. And, of course, our creme de la creme, Jennifer's Body. And that's it. That's all I have for you. Honestly, look, Megan Fox was an interesting actress to look into, because she's not even someone who started out as a model or someone who's very attractive as a model. Her role, her career has grown simply for the factor of her sex appeal, you know? She's done, obviously, other roles before Transformers, but we all know where she really got started, which was that. It was because of her body. It was because of the image of her on a motorcycle, cleaning it. Or is that the second film? Either way, it's pretty fucking obvious what, they're going for with her. They don't look at Megan Fox as someone who can play a character or interesting. She is just sexy, and that's it. And look, I can't say that I didn't fantasize about her as a teenager because I was a teenager. I wouldn't be thinking about her as an actress. I'd be thinking about her as like, holy shit, is she sexy? All of these films, except for Jennifer, well, maybe still Jennifer's Body, but definitely all of these films that I had watched today, except for Jonah Hex, I would have watched and seen her and been like, holy shit, she's incredibly sexy. And yes, in Jonah Hex, she does play a prostitute, and she is in not the greatest costume, but it's still not terrible, but it's not great. I wouldn't, because she's hardly in the film, I wouldn't have fucking paid attention. It takes so long for her to actually arrive in the film that it doesn't fucking matter anyway. But, again, the teenage mindset for looking at her, or even the grown men who just want to fetishize an actress, that's exactly what they're going to look at when it comes to Megan Fox. Which is, it's disappointing, but the thing is that unlike, this is the reason why I have Marilyn Monroe up there on the screen, is because, in contrast, Marilyn Monroe is a fucking terrific actress. And again, you can watch my video on her films. She is incredible. There are some times where she's not so great, but at the same time, everyone has those moments. She is a very attractive woman, but she can sing, she can dance, she has fucking talent. She can do comedy like as her left, it's incredible what she can do. Megan Fox doesn't really have that. I've watched all these films, and all I can say is maybe it's because of the writing and the directing and what the fuck her character is meant to be, but even the one that could have had her actual play an actual character, which would be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one, because April O'Neil is a pretty different character if written and portrayed well, but of course this movie doesn't have that. So I can't defend her as being a bad actress, but I can say is that she's not really a bad actor. Yeah, she's had bad roles. Yeah, she's been incredibly over-sexualized, but you watch Jennifer's Body, she is Jennifer. There is no Megan Fox about her. She is Jennifer. She is incredible in the role. And it just sucks that she hasn't had the opportunity to play other better roles. She even has said in the past, and this is from reading Wikipedia and reading IMDb shit, that, she doesn't consider her roles in a lot of these films, especially the big action blockbusters, aka Transformers, as legitimate films for her to represent herself as an actress. They are easy ways into the film community, into being an actress that is a household name. She became a household name after Transformers. Trust me about that. And it's just, as much as her name is actually really easy to remember and pronounce, but she has that ability, but she just didn't choose the right paths except for Jennifer's Body. She did not choose any good roles. And it sucks. Because she could, and does, have a lot of potential to be a really good actress, but she's only going to be in shitty or generic as hell movies, which is ultimately a big disappointment. And now, of course, she has her own personal life with her now ex-husband, but she has her 3 kids, and she's got a lot more to her life, And she is who she is as a person if she keeps choosing these roles, which she's got a big lineup. 2019, she did 3 movies, including I think in 2020 maybe it was that she did the Machine Gun Kelly music video. But then in 2020, she's got 3 or 4 movies coming out, One of them that came out at the start of June, on demand, which again I couldn't rent for some fucking reason, I guess because it just didn't come out in Australia yet. And that one got pretty decent reviews. I can't say anything about her performance in the role, neither has anyone else said anything about it, but yeah, and let's just say family movie. So she's obviously trying to go away from that aspect of the sexualized character, but in all these films I've seen, she plays a teenager to young adult, she's between the ages of 16 and 22. Which is, of course, the sexiest age, I guess. America, fucking weirdos. But then, of course, this is 10 years later, she probably can't play those roles anymore, and hence she was in New Girl for 2 seasons, I think, or a whole season, and to replace Zooey Deschanel, because Zooey Deschanel was on maternity leave, and apparently, from what I've read, The fans did not like her character and did not like her performance of her. Maybe because they had the stipulation of, oh, she's just sexy. Why can't they actually get a proper actress? Or maybe some spiel like that. But I'm not gonna fucking watch a New Girl. Again, the biggest film that she's done of recent years is just the one that came out earlier this year, where she plays a mother. So obviously, because she is a mother in real life, she has adopted those features into her acting career. And still getting her money. She's still getting roles in lead roles. She's the lead female in a few films that have come out in the past 2 years. So good for her. She's getting back into the game. Nobody's probably taken much notice, but she's there. And if this pandemic wasn't going on, she'd probably be filming a lot more shit. So yeah. Overall, end all be all, don't watch any of the films that she's in except for Jennifer's Body. I mean, maybe some of the stuff that she's doing now, maybe, to give her a chance to become a phoenix rising from the ashes of the death of her career, pretty much. But yeah, it is how it is. She be how she be. Outside of that, thank you for watching another Telecreations video. This has been the actor review of Megan Fox. If you want to see other actor reviews, there's a playlist up there. I'll put here my Marilyn Monroe one, which I believe is my most recent of the actor reviews anyway. So this is kind of a nice back-to-back feature in my mind. But yeah, outside of that, feel free to like, share, and subscribe for more. I don't really know where the subscribe button is going to be. Maybe I should sit up a little so I can have it around here. Usually that's how I do it. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Just in context for whatever actors and actresses I have done in the past, I've done Keanu Reeves, Johnny Depp, Nicolas Cage, Aubrey Plaza, Masami Nagasawa, which has over 2,000... No, is that the one with 2,000 views? Maybe. No, that's got 1,000 views, which is incredible, by the way. Big thanks. Lily James I also did, Taylor Swift I also did, Dakota Johnson, Cara Delevingne was my first one. So there's a good range of videos. They are extensive in their length, yes, but I do like to cover the films properly, to some degree. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Adios. I have a swingy chair. I use it to play video games in here because the couch isn't good enough for my back. So let's go swingy. Whee! I have fun. I have to lift up my legs so I don't hit the PlayStation. I'm gonna go to bed now. See ya. Thanks for watching.